The salvage-run-earth cargo hold of the smuggling vessel Wanderer's Edge reeked of engine oil and recycled air. Zara pressed herself deeper into the shadows between supply crates, her stomach cramping with hunger that had become her constant companion. 3 days without food, 2 without water, and still the corporate enforcers hunted her through the station's lower levels. Her violet skin had dulled to an ashen gray, and her once-proud head crest lay flat against her skull in exhaustion. Footsteps echoed through the bay, heavy boots on metal grating. Zara's breath caught as a human male rounded the corner, his weathered face illuminated by a handheld scanner. Captain Marcus Reed had the look of a man who'd seen too much and trusted too little. With scars crossing his jaw and steel-gray eyes that missed nothing. His dark hair was streaked with premature silver, and his worn leather jacket bore the patches of a dozen different worlds. "Well, well," Marcus murmured, his voice carrying a rough warmth that surprised her. "What have we here?" Zara's muscles tensed for flight, but exhaustion had stolen her strength. She could only watch as he approached slowly, hands visible and empty. Most humans would have called the enforcers immediately for the bounty on her head, but something in his expression held her still. "You're the one they're hunting," he said. Not a question, but a statement. The survivor from the mining colony. She found her voice, though it came out as barely a whisper. "Please, have nowhere else to go." Marcus studied her for a long moment, his scanner beeping softly as it registered her species and the warrant attached to her genetic signature. 5,000 credits for her capture, dead or alive, enough to keep his ship running for months. Instead of reaching for his cum unit, he switched off the scanner and tucked it into his belt. Hungry? The unexpected kindness nearly broke her composure. When had anyone last asked about her needs instead of demanding something from her? Tears threatened to spill from her golden eyes as she nodded. "My galley's not much, but it's better than starving in a cargo hold," Marcus said, extending his hand. The names read, "Captain of this rust bucket." Zara stared at his offered hand, calloused from years of ship maintenance and honest work. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford, yet something in his steady gaze spoke of honor among thieves. "Zara," she whispered, accepting his help up. Her legs trembled as she stood, but his grip was firm and steady. "Welcome aboard the Wanderer's Edge, Zara. Let's get some food in you before we discuss your travel arrangements." As he guided her toward the ship's galley, Zara felt the first spark of hope she'd known in months. Trust in the void ship's galley was cramped but clean, with mismatched chairs around a small table bolted to the deck. Marcus moved with practiced efficiency, heating a packet of protein stew while Zara sat wrapped in a thermal blanket, watching his every movement. Her golden eyes tracked him like a wary animal, ready to bolt at the first sign of threat. "Eat slowly," Marcus advised, setting the bowl before her. "Your system needs time to adjust." She nodded, though hunger made her want to devour everything at once. The first spoonful sent warmth cascading through her chest, and she closed her eyes in relief. When she opened them, Marcus was studying star charts at his tablet, giving her privacy to eat without judgment. "Where are we headed?" she asked between careful bites. "Outer Rim Trading Post, called Haven's Rest. Neutral territory, mostly." He glanced up. Good place for people who need to disappear for a while. The ship shuddered as they jumped to hyperspace, and Zara felt the familiar lurch in her stomach that had nothing to do with hunger. Through the small porthole, stars streaked past in. Ribbons of light. Why help me? The question had been burning in her throat since he'd found her. Marcus leaned back in his chair, considering his answer. "My sister was about your age when the corporations drove us off our homeworld. She didn't make it to the refugee ships." His voice carried old pain, carefully controlled. "Maybe helping you won't bring her back, but it's something." Before Zara could respond, the ship's proximity alarms began wailing. Marcus was on his feet instantly, rushing to the bridge with her close behind. The main display showed 3 corporate enforcement vessels dropping out of hyperspace around them. "How did they find us so fast?" Zara breathed, fear making her voice tight. "Someone tipped them off," Marcus growled, his hands flying over the controls. "Hold on." The Wanderer's Edge bucked and rolled as Marcus threw them into evasive maneuvers. But the enforcement ships were faster and better armed. Laser fire lit up the darkness around them, and the ship's shields flickered under the assault. Incoming. Transmission, the ship's AI announced in its maddeningly calm voice. A woman's face appeared on screen, her features sharp and predatory beneath short-cropped black hair. "Captain Reed, you're harboring a fugitive. Surrender the alien and we'll let you go with a warning." "Counter-offer," Marcus replied, not looking away from his controls. "Go to hell." The woman's smile was cold as winter void. "Commander Valencia appreciates your defiance. Makes the hunt more interesting." The transmission cut, and immediately the attack intensified. Sparks flew from damaged systems as the ship groaned under the punishment. Zara gripped her seat, watching Marcus work with desperate concentration. Then, impossibly, a fourth ship appeared between them and their attackers. Bonds forged in forever newcomer was sleek and predatory, its hull bearing the markings of the resistance movement. It opened fire immediately, forcing the corporate ships to break formation. Marcus seized the opportunity, diving toward the nearest asteroid field, where the larger vessels couldn't follow. "This is Lieutenant Nix Voren of the resistance ship Shadow's Edge," came a crisp voice over the comm. "I lead Captain Reed." The lieutenant's ship danced through the asteroids with impossible grace, leading them deeper into the rocky maze. The corporate vessels gave pursuit for a while before their commanders decided the quarry wasn't worth the risk of collision. Within an hour, they were alone in the drifting silence of space debris. "You saved our lives," Marcus said when the alien pilot came aboard for debriefing. Lieutenant Nix Voren was tall and elegant, her pale blue skin marked with intricate silver tattoos that seemed to shift in the light. Her silver hair was braided, with small bells that chimed softly when she moved, and her violet eyes held ancient wisdom despite her youthful appearance. "It wasn't coincidence," Nick said, her gaze fixed on Zara. "We've been searching for you for months." Zara shrank back. "Searching for me? Why?" "Because you're not just a mining colony survivor," Nix explained gently. "You're the last daughter of House Kyrith, rightful heir to the throne of the Outer Systems. The corporations destroyed your people because they feared your family's influence. Over the resistance, the revelation hit Zara like a physical blow. She'd grown up believing herself nobody special, just another laborer in the corporate machine. "That's impossible. My parents were miners, adopted parents who died protecting your true identity," Nick said. "The resistance has been trying to find you ever since the massacre. You're the key to uniting the scattered rebel cells." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. He'd rescued a hungry refugee and found himself harboring a princess. "So what happens now?" "Now we take her somewhere safe while she learns who she really is," Nix replied. But as she spoke, Zara was backing toward the door, panic bright in her golden eyes. All her life, people had wanted to use her for something. Even Marcus, with his gentle hands and kind words, would probably see her differently now. "Zara, wait," Marcus called, but she was already running. He found her in the ship's small observation lounge, curled in a corner with her knees drawn up to her chest. Stars wheeled slowly past the transparent aluminum windows, cold and distant. "You're afraid I'll see you differently now," he said, settling beside her on the narrow bench. "Won't you?" Her voice was small, vulnerable. "I'm not just some stray. You picked up any more? I'm a symbol, a weapon for your resistance." Marcus was quiet for a long moment, watching the stars. Then he reached out and gently touched her hand. "You're still the woman who thanked me for a bowl of protein stew. Still the person who watches my back when the corporate hunters come calling." Arts. In Rebellion, their refuge was a hidden world called Whisper's Haven, tucked away in an unmapped nebula where sensors couldn't penetrate. The Resistance had built a small base among ancient ruins, and it was there that Zara began training to reclaim her heritage. Nix proved to be a patient teacher, instructing her in combat diplomacy and the complex politics of rebellion. Marcus found himself drawn to both women in different ways. Nix was brilliant and fierce, her tactical mind complementing his practical experience. When they worked together, planning supply runs or analyzing corporate patrol patterns, a professional respect gradually deepened into something more personal. Her rare smiles were precious treasures, and the way she listened to his stories of life among the smugglers made him feel valued for more than just his ship. But it was Zara who held his heart completely. During quiet evenings, when training was done, they would walk together through the ruins, talking about everything and nothing. She told him about her childhood memories, the foster parents who had loved her, despite not being her blood. He shared his dreams of a life beyond running from corporate enforcers, of maybe settling down somewhere peaceful. One night, 3 months into their stay, the conversation turned more intimate. They had climbed to the highest tower of the ruins, where the nebula's glow painted everything in soft purple light. Zara was pressed close against his side for warmth, her head on his shoulder. "Before you found me, I thought I might die in that cargo hold," she whispered. "Alone and forgotten. We'll never be alone again," Marcus promised, turning to face her. "Not if I have anything to say about it." When their lips met, it was gentle at first, tentative. But months of growing trust and affection poured into that kiss. And soon they were holding each other desperately, as if afraid the other might disappear. His hands tangled in her silver hair while she traced the scars on his jaw with trembling fingers. "Marcus," she breathed against his lips. And he heard everything in his name that she couldn't yet say aloud. They made love under the nebula's glow, their bodies fitting together perfectly despite the differences in their species. Afterward, they lay entwined on his jacket, talking in whispers about the future they might build together. Their peaceful interlude ended when Nyx burst into their quarters 3 days later, her face grim with urgent news. "The corporations have found Oracle Vesta," she announced, without preamble. "They're moving to capture her before we can reach her." Vesta was an ancient artificial intelligence, older than human space travel, who possessed detailed records of the royal bloodlines and the location of the Resistance's ancestral strongholds. Without her knowledge, Zara's claim to the throne would be impossible to prove. "How long do we have?" Marcus asked, already reaching for his clothes. 12 hours. "Before their assault fleet arrives at her location," Nyx replied, "it's going to be close." Stars Alagnet, the Oracle's sanctuary, lay hidden within a shattered moon, its crystalline chambers protected by energy barriers that had endured for millennia. Marcus piloted the Wanderer's Edge through the debris field while Nyx monitored the approaching corporate fleet, and Zara prepared herself mentally for what they might find. Oracle Vesta appeared as a pillar of shifting light when they reached the central chamber, her voice echoing from hidden speakers throughout the facility. "So, the lost daughter returns at last," the ancient AI said, her tone carrying warmth despite its artificial nature. "I have waited long to see Kyrith bloodwalk these halls again. The corporations will be here soon," Zara said urgently. "Can you help us prove my identity? More than that, child? I can give you the locations of the hidden resistance bases, the loyalty codes that will unite the scattered fleets under your banner." The Oracle's light pulsed brighter. "But first, you must choose. Will you claim your throne, knowing it means a lifetime of war?" Zara looked at Marcus, then at Nyx. Both had risked everything to bring her this far, and she could see the hope in their eyes. But more than that, she could see their love for her and for each other. Somehow, over the months of running and hiding and fighting, the three of them had become something more than allies. "I'll claim it," she said firmly. "Right. Not alone. These two have earned their place at my side." The Oracle's chamber filled with golden light as Vesta transferred her vast databases to portable storage units. "Then let me give you the tools to build the future you dream of." They barely escaped before Commander Valencia's forces arrived. But they carried with them everything needed to transform the resistance from scattered rebels into a unified force. In the months that followed, Zara's broadcasts reached every corner of the outer systems, calling the oppressed to rise up against their corporate masters. Marcus found himself named Admiral of the Resistance Fleet, his tactical brilliance and knowledge of corporate weaknesses proving invaluable. Nyx became Zara's right hand, coordinating intelligence networks and diplomatic missions with other alien species who had suffered under human corporate rule. Their victory came not through a single great battle, but through 1,000 small ones, as worlds after world declared independence and joined the growing alliance. When the corporate council finally sued for peace, it was to negotiate with Queen Zara Kyrith and her two most trusted advisors. On the day of the peace signing, held aboard a neutral station in disputed space, Marcus and Nyx stood on either side of Zara's throne. They wore the formal uniforms of their new positions, but their hands were linked behind the throne where no one could see, a symbol of the bond that had carried them through the darkness to this moment of triumph. "Think it will last?" Marcus murmured, as they watched former enemies shake hands and sign treaties. "With the three of us together, I'd say the stars themselves couldn't tear us apart." Nyx replied softly. Zara smiled, feeling their hands squeeze hers gently. She had started this journey as a starving refugee with nothing to lose. Now she was a queen with everything to fight for, surrounded by the people who loved her most. The future stretched before them, bright with possibility.